Hey, everybody, Dr. LeGrand here, and today we're going to be talking about why ADHD or just why medications in general is not the solution to your ADHD. So, here is why I say that. If you've never had this explained before, when it comes to taking ADHD medication, what's going on throughout the body, at least in theory, is that the ADHD medication itself is, let me get a different highlighter here, is the ADHD medication, it blocks the dopamine transporter. So you have the transporter right here. And so that transporter is normally, it helps dopamine move back to the sending neuron. So this is the sending neuron signaling, saying, okay, we've made enough dopamine, you can kind of slow down. That's the whole purpose of it, because you don't want too much dopamine, because when dopamine is too high, we get that euphoric effects. We can feel agitated, irritated. There's a lot of reasons why you don't want it to be too high. That is a big problem. Hey, Jeffrey, what's up from Brazil? Good to see you. And so really, if we are understanding how the medication works, is it blocks this, it can cause some problems, because it can causing dopamine to increase in concentration to the synapse. But why this is a problem is our body can over time naturally not want to produce as much. It slows down because it's blocking these channels. And so therefore, the dopamine is different highlighter here. The dopamine right here just keeps on releasing. Okay. And so that might be great for a short period of time, but over time, we do start to get to a point where we run on empty on the dopamine. And you probably experienced this before where, I mean, you could put it in the chat, who is here actually experienced where you're in a situation where you're running on empty, where you feel like the medication is maybe not working as effectively as it used to. And there's a reason to this, is because the body's not naturally producing as much. In fact, we've seen this in research where levels of 80%, meaning that our brain dopamine levels were only about 80% capacity of what it used to be when we're on medication. So this is a study done with, monkeys and some humans, and they found out that it does decrease about 20% when we're on different type of ADHD medication. So that's a problem. But there's a few other things when it comes to really why ADHD medication isn't necessarily the solution. I think it's a temporary fix to help us kind of get over a lot of the symptoms that we deal with ADHD, and can be really good for that reason. But when it comes to long-term solutions, I think we don't have to be reliant on medication altogether. There's other things that can be contributing to your ADHD. So one of them being looking at the digestive system as well as looking at the liver. So the digestion system equates to about 90 to 95% of our neurotransmitters, including dopamine. So dopamine is about 50% when it comes to what the digestive system does generate. But also when it comes to the liver does a lot when it comes to filtration and detoxification, and also dealing with iron, dealing with different hormones. And if this is not working so great, then we do suffer with having low energy, dealing with fatigue. Fatigue, obviously, focus issues. We also are going to deal with, brain fog when the liver is not working so great. And that becomes a big problem. And we realize that medications aren't going to solve those problems, right? Especially ADHD medication. They don't target anything to do with the liver or the digestive system. They're not. And so it's important to investigate to see, is that truly the problem that could be contributing to a lot of your ADHD symptoms that you're currently experiencing? And that could be the solution. Now, is it for you specifically? I don't know. But it is for a lot of my patients and clients, but it depends on the person. And this is where testing becomes a very important key factor to all of this. Now, some other things to also point out here is different hormones too. So what if it's a thyroid situation on our hands? What if thyroid could be the problem contributing to a lot of our different symptoms that we're experiencing? So if we look at things like TSH or even free T3 or even free T4, those things, if they're off, you will feel symptoms of not only feeling fatigue, but also you will have focus issues, you will have brain fog, you will have irritability, all these things that can seem like it's ADHD, but it might be something to do with this, or it's just making your ADHD even worse. Another thing to note here too is it could be possibly, and I see this time and time again, is something to do with the adrenals. So an adrenal insufficiency syndrome. And why this is important is because cortisol's levels, especially cortisol, but there's also things like epinephrine and also norepinephrine that the adrenals do also help to kind of release. But cortisol, for example, can play a big role in a lot of our different ADHD symptoms. And when they're supposed to be like this, where it's supposed to be good, when we first wake up, and then also, start to drop down middle of the day and then lowest at night. But for some people, it might be down here in first in the morning, and then all of a sudden at night, it spikes. That can be a problem. It cannot allow you to sleep, so that impacts your ADHD, making that worse. And so it could be just this, and I see this time again, that could be your solution to your ADHD, and not the medication, but actually solving this problem and resolving it and balancing out your cortisol where it's supposed to be, versus it spiking up like that or dipping down really low where you don't have the energy and focus throughout the day. That could be the reason. It also could be other different hormones, such as like estrogen. It could be also progesterone issues. It could be testosterone, right? It could be several different other hormones that could be causing some instability within your mood, your focus, your drive, motivation. All those things could be a possibility. Could be. I'm not saying it's directly for you, but it is for a lot of people with ADHD, but sometimes it's one of these things or it's multiple of these things. It just depends on the person. And the only way to really know this is to investigate and actually test for this to see, is this the culprit of it? Now, obviously the brain is really important too, but the thing that people do forget is that dopamine itself, dopamine is just made by itself. There's other ingredients that make up dopamine. And some of these things are things like, L-Dopa. But then L-Dopa is made by tyrosine. And then tyrosine is helped by phenylalanine. And then, phenylalanine does also help make PEA, also known as phenylethylamine. It's an excitatory neurotransmitter, and it starts at the very beginning of this whole process. And so what if there is problems here or here or here, but not necessarily here on dopamine? Well, we're missing a whole big picture here. And that might be the solution. It might be where we need to be putting our focus, because there might be some deficiencies going on there. Possibly. Not saying it is for you specifically, but it could be the culprit to this. But what if it's also something like, could be even serotonin? Or what about if it's GABA? So those are two other different pathways that, I don't have time to go into in detail today, but those could also be some of the culprits too, that could be contributing some of your anxiety, stress, motivation, focus, sleep issues, number of different things that could be contributing to this. Okay. So another thing I kind of want to point out here is that, just to kind of bring this all together is, just to give you an example of a patient that I had, Jen, she was taking medication. She was exhausted, unfocused. She couldn't keep up with her work on all the demands, and also her relationship was struggling. Her marriage was. So when I did some testing, realized that there was something interesting here. Remember, she was taking medication. Look at her dopamine. Dopamine levels are elevated. This can cause some problems. I didn't mention here too, but she also was really stressed and agitated, along with being exhausted. When you have too high levels of dopamine, it causes those symptoms of agitated, irritated. So the medication, there was a reason why it wasn't working. It's actually making things worse. And this is why medication is not always going to be the solution. It can be helpful if your dopamine levels are low, or also your norepinephrine levels are low, but within her situation wasn't. So I had to bring that down using things like L-theanine, changing up things in her diet, working on other lifestyle things that need to be implemented were important. Also helping with her epinephrine levels that were low. The other things that also to keep a note is her serotonin were also elevated. And that also can make you feel agitated, irritated. Her GABA levels were also elevated. All three of these were elevated. So L-theanine was a big one that did help kind of reduce this. But on top of that, we had to work on some stress reduction exercises. We also had to work on some lifestyle changes, had to change up her diet, multiple different things. And once we did that, because now we had the evidence of what we needed to implement. And once we were able to do that, I mean, literally within 2 weeks, she had more energy, focus. Her boss did notice a difference that she wasn't getting behind. She also didn't feel stressed. And she was eventually able to get off of her medication because it wasn't doing her a service. Okay, let me give you an example. Greg also was taking medication. He was struggling years with his ADHD, had decreased energy, and his employees noticed that his focus was way off. He was not showing up to work very well. He was kind of a little scatterbrained. And so when I tested his stuff, what I noticed is he was low on everything. And so clearly the medication wasn't doing anything for him, especially for his dopamine or norepinephrine, which it's supposed to be doing. But when you have issues with tyrosine, like I was saying, or PA, there's things that are being missed. And so you got to add like DL-phenylalanine for helping improve PA, and also add something I call it's called dopatone active, which in that case will help with, because it has N-acetyl L-tyrosine in it, and also has L-dopa in it to help improve dopamine, and also can help with norepinephrine. Also adding L-theanine to help with epinephrine and norepinephrine, stuff like that, made a huge difference, because once we incorporate those things, as well as improving the diet, because the diet is important too. Incorporating more proteins, because proteins is what's required to help with a lot of what the dopamine requires, different amino acids, right? Things like tyrosine, phenylalanine, all those things are important. Okay. And it's all because these things need to be addressed, especially for this guy. Okay. Once those were addressed, then things are getting better. But also on top of that, there was also certain B vitamins that were required here. So if you see here, there is, you see P5P? That is the activated form of vitamin B6. He was low in that. And so we need to definitely incorporate that, because it's hard to convert from tyrosine to L-dopa, from L-dopa to dopamine, or even from phenylalanine to tyrosine, if you don't have adequate enough of like vitamin B6 or other different B vitamins that help with building and modulating these different neurotransmitters from one step to the next. So there's always something that can be up further than just dopamine and medication, because ADHD medication is only really addressing dopamine and norepinephrine, at least in theory. It's missing all of this. That's why it wasn't working. That's why there's an issue, because it was being all missed. Right? What if it's missing for you? What if you were having issues? Because for him, that's what he needed. Also with him, 2 weeks later, more energy. He's back on his A game. He's more productive. He felt his younger self again. His employees noticed that, like, okay, he's back. Our boss is back. He's able to focus more, be more productive. And that's what's required, is to investigate and understand really what's going on. So would you like to have, help from us, like to have like what Jen and also Greg had, and many of our other patients, clients that we do work with? If you do, I'd love to help you out, because doing this alone, it ain't easy. Body's complex. It's very hard to understand really what's going on with your body chemistry. So here's exactly why I say that, is because you need to find the source of your imbalances, your body chemistry imbalances. You understand what is the root cause of it. And you need a very customized plan that's specific for you as an individual, not just some generic plan that's given to every person with ADHD. That's what you've been experiencing. But you need something that's actually more customized for you. And you need someone that's going to hold you accountable to actually take action and follow through with it, and to analyze and adjust that. That's really what's required. And so here's exactly how I can help you out. And so my health experts and I have set aside time to speak with you personally to help you actually get started getting results right away. It's called the Focus Mindset Strategy Session. So in this Focus Mindset Strategy Session, we'll put together a specific plan for your situation to help you have better focus so you can actually excel in life. And then here's exactly how we'll do this together. First, we'll uncover behind what is your ADHD symptoms? What is the root problem of it? What is that blind spot that you probably have never been told? Because you've probably just been given a medication or done just an assessment to diagnose you with ADHD, and that's it, but never knowing exactly the root of the problem, what's going on, looking more into your medical history of what's going on there. Then we'll, customize a plan that will help you get you unstuck. And then finally, we'll determine if it makes sense working closer together. Okay. So what this includes, the Focus Mindset Strategy Session is either with me or with one of my health experts. And it's a 45-minute one-on-one personalized strategy session. That's a $750 value. You also, if you do purchase today, you do get access to our nutrition and lifestyle tracking app. That's a $300 value. And then on top of that, you do get access, if you do purchase today, you get access to our my ADHD health course. That's a $597 value. And all of that you can get, the full value is over $1,000 and you get that all for just $297. Okay. So all you got to do is you just got to click on the link in the description. So you just click on that link in the description below. You'll come to this page. You'll want to make sure you click on that button right there. And then you will purchase. Once you have purchased, then it's very important. A lot of people forget this. When you purchase, you still have to schedule your appointment, right? You need to actually pick a date and time. So make sure to not skip this step. Once you've purchased, you hit the book now button. You go to here and you pick a date and time. You select your practitioner. So if you want to see me directly, then you'd select me. Or if you want to be seen sooner, you can select one of my other health experts to be seen by. And then you fill out your information. It's very important. And then make sure once you have purchased, check your email. Make sure that you got your confirmation appointment. Also, to activate your Practice Better account. That's how you get access to the nutrition lifestyle tracking app. It's very important that you fill out your client questionnaire before your appointment. So if you can do this at least a couple days before, that's really helpful for me and also the health experts to look over your, your stuff. So that way we can know what to put together as far as what labs to put together that we're going to be doing and so forth. Also, if you have a significant other or a spouse, we do require that you do book a time that they can be present because we need to understand your outside perspective, their outside perspective of your situation with your ADHD. So we do require that they are there. And then of course, block out 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how many questions you do have. Please do block that out. And then do show up early. We give you a 10-minute grace period. If you're not, then we have to mark it as a no-show. But if you really want to finally tackle your ADHD and want to understand the root cause of it, this is the solution, is to understand what's going on. And so I'd be more than happy to help you out. So all you got to do is just click on that link in the description below to be able to book that consultation and get that discount. So thank you guys so much for attending, and I'll see you guys all in the next live stream. Thanks.